Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed Boys State. I think this is an excellent documentary that demonstrates the importance of Boys State and Girls State as a training ground for many of our future leaders. I have with me today a great friend and former governor of Virginia, and maybe future governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe. He was the 72nd governor of Virginia, elected in November of 2013. As governor, McAuliffe conducted a record 35 trade missions to dozens of countries. He personally delivered Virginia's calling card to business leaders around the globe. As a result, hundreds of thousands of jobs were created and more than $20 billion in new capital investment came to communities across the Commonwealth. One of his proudest accomplishments was when he made unprecedented progress on the restoration of civil rights to rehabilitated felons who had completed their sentences and paid their debt to society. During his tenure, this is remarkable, Governor McAuliffe restored the rights of more than 173,000 Virginians, more than any other governor, not just in Virginia, but in U.S. history, all 50 states. McAuliffe entered national politics at the early age of 23 in a major position, the National Finance Director for President Jimmy Carter. He was elected Democratic National Committee Chairman in 2000, and he served until 2005. He co-chaired President Bill Clinton's 1996 campaign for re-election and his 1997 presidential inauguration. He was also chairman of the 2000 Democratic National Convention. And finally, he was chairman of Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. Back in 1993, he was appointed by President Clinton as Ambassador and Commissioner General of the United States Taejon International Exposition in South Korea. McAuliffe and his wife, the former First Lady, the lovely Dorothy, were married in 1988. They have 5 children. Their eldest son is a captain in the United States Marine Corps. Well, Governor McAuliffe, welcome. And I know you spoke to the Virginia Boys State attendees while you were governor. Of course, you're close with Bill Clinton, and we all recall that famous photo when young Bill Clinton met President Kennedy back in 1963 in the Rose Garden as a member of Boys State. What do you think the impact of Boys and Girls State is on the participants?
Well, first of all, Larry, it's an honor to be with you and everybody at Boys State. I will say it was 32 years ago that Dorothy and I were married. So we're actually celebrating our 32nd anniversary. 32 great years, hopefully 32 more great years ahead. But as you know, when I was governor, every year I went down to Boys and Girls State. I loved it. It was one of the highlights of my year. When you'd walk into that auditorium and the music was playing and everybody was yelling, I don't care what your political persuasion was, it was great. And what I loved about it, Larry, most importantly, is you had all of these young men and women at their 2 different respective events, all of them focused on politics, all of them focused on learning the nuts and bolts of city and county and state government, which for a lot of people, they really don't understand that people's lives are really affected, not at the federal level. I've always made the point, it's at the state level. Governors and legislatures, we build the roads, we run the healthcare, we do the education programs in our states. That has the most direct impact. So to see all of these young men and women together talking about these issues, for me, it was just heartwarming to get people involved in politics at a very young age, because politics has become so nasty, so polarized, everybody's in their corners. If we can teach young folks at an early age that compromise is not a bad word, to sit down and negotiate and respect one another's views. And I think that's really what Boys State is all about. Learn the process, learn the nuts and bolts, but more importantly, learn how to work with one another. And they have debates, they have mock legislative sessions, and coming to an agreement and actually get a bill passed, debate the bill, I think is so instructive for young people to do that at a very young age.
Well, you're very right, Governor. It's very easy to talk. It's very difficult to deliver. And maybe Boys State and Girls State teach young people how to deliver, and they'll take that to the legislature one day. Well, you mentioned negative politics, and it is one of the things that plague our politics today. The hero in this film, Boys State, lost the election because of dirty politics. Can you think of things that we can do as individual citizens or young people can do, even in high school and college, to restore civility to our politics?
Well, I think it first of all starts with each individual. And I give a lot of commencement addresses. I do college, I do high schools all the time. And what I try to impress on young people is, first of all, you got to keep an open mind. This idea that I'm always right and you're always wrong. And if you're in the other political party or you support this candidate, somehow you're a bad person. We got to get over all of that. And we've got to learn to respect one another. And as governor, I had a very Republican legislature. I got 75% of my bills passed, of governor's bills. Why? I worked with them every single day, understand what their concerns were. If you come out of a negotiations where everybody feels they won and one walking away saying I took advantage of the other, that deal will not last. I always like to have a process where everybody walks out of the room feeling pretty good. But the system we're in today, where nobody will deal with one another, and you're right, I'm wrong, all of that, it just doesn't fly in the greatest democracy. I think one of the worst things to ever happen in our country is Citizens United lawsuit that went through the United States Supreme Court. And at the federal, at the congressional races, all of this dark money that comes into these races, they don't have to disclose who gave it, and they don't have to disclose how they use it. So they come really into these campaigns saying the most vile things against individuals, and you don't even know who's doing it. And so I do hope that we can get rid of Citizens United. I think if you're going to be involved in politics, you got to lay out who's giving you money, who's supporting your cause. And, if you want to give money, that's fine, but it ought to be reported. And I think that's really been one of the most dangerous things recently that's happened to our national politics, and we got to fix it. The other big issue, and I talk about, you and I, Larry, have talked a lot about this, we've got to fix these gerrymandered districts in our country where politicians pick their voters. Voters don't pick politicians. It's to the point that politicians pick who they want to have for the general election, who their voters are. So most politicians, 95% of members of Congress, win re-election. So the only way they can lose an election is in their own party's primary. And it pushes people to the extremes. And it just doesn't work that way. You got to operate from the middle. I always tried to be, I was a fiscally conservative, pro-jobs governor. I was also socially very progressive. I operate in the middle and to try and get things done. I was a governor. I inherited the largest deficit when I became governor. I left the biggest surplus 4 years later. Why? I traveled the globe, brought businesses back, worked with my legislature. How do we work together to make things better? Because voters, they're not complicated. They want a job. They want their kids to have a job. They want them to have a quality education. They want healthcare. And you know what? They want to get on the roads and not spend 2 hours going to see their kids play a ball game. They're not asking for much. And they are sick and tired of the petty politics that goes on. And if we can get rid of a lot of these gerrymandered districts where you have actually competitive general elections, I think that, Larry, would go a long way to help this country restore democracy.
Well, Governor, I think you've given a very good lecture and a good agenda to the young people and older people who've just watched Boys State and who want to go out and do something about it and not have to go to Boys State or Girls State to do it. We want to thank you. Thank you for all you've done in public affairs, in the governorship. I'm going to see you on the campaign trail coming up because there's always an election in Virginia. We have them every year. Thank you again, Governor, and good day to everybody.
Thank you.